that point, it's like, what does religion have to even do with it? Like,
Well,
it's
that's my point.
because the words that we're using ignorantly in our meager understanding of, like, you know, history, geopolitics, and all of that, it has nothing to do with what you're critiquing, because we don't even know it's not a religion that anyone's ever talking about when they say those words. I promise you, the religion doesn't even come up. The only context and from my understanding, based on conversations that I've had coming up until now, the only time that the word religion is triggered is in reference to things like Christianity and uh Islam and things like that. Or not, well, being it, you know what I mean? Like, it's very limited, and then something about Buddha, and then this, that, and the third. Like, nobody's thinking, oh, when I'm talking about this specific people, I'm attacking their religion. It's like, that's the furthest. There's no connection there.
Well, what a lot of people miss about this thing when people get angry and start pointing the fingers, what they forget about is people who are of Jewish background. They very cleverly teach their children, maybe not all of them, but definitely a large contingency of them in the US, UK, Europe, teach their children how, and other places like Australia, whatever, they teach their children how the money system works. They teach their children how to create wealth, how to look after money, how to make money. And that way they never go without. Now, some people could say that some of these people take it too far. Granted, fair enough. But I think there's people have to understand is that if you don't teach your children about how the stock market works, they're probably, and they're going to a public school, they're probably not going to know about it unless sometime in the future when they're older, they actually go and learn about it. So if you're teaching your children how the stock market works, then their children will end up being in private schools and they'll start learning how the money system works within private schools, and you'll also be there to teach them because you had to learn it because your parents made sure that you learned about it. That's the difference between kids growing up where I grew up and in the way I did, and most of you did, as opposed to growing up in a Jewish household in the US or something where money is more important and how the money system works is more important, and it's important that the kids understand this. So, I mean, that is you can't say it's a conspiracy when you can be teaching your kids the same thing, but you're not.
What? Yeah, but how is it even? How are they then perpetrators just because by default they teach their kids about dealing with money? That doesn't automatically make them conspirators against everybody.
No, it doesn't. But that's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they teach their children about the money system more than any other group of people teach their kids about the money system.
But
more Jewish kids learn about the money system than there is maybe Chinese kids learn about it, whatever. But more, as far as your everyday white people goes, there's certainly no other group of white people that learn. They say that no matter where they're from, Germany, the UK, wherever, they don't learn about the money system.
Okay, can I just interrupt for 1 second? Sorry to interrupt. I seem to have, all I've done is I've updated the chipset drivers for this computer, and it seems to have solved the issue. So, okay, what I now want to do is change this members only live stream to a public live stream. Now, I can't see any feasible reason why that would make any difference, but that is literally now at this point the only, other than a chipset update, which is a fairly substantial thing to have done, there's no other changes that I've made. Do you know what I mean? So this is...
Oh, you did a firmware update?
Chipset.
That's a firmware. It's like for the hardware itself, not software on your computer program, right? Not software, but for the hardware specifically.
It's well, exactly. So the hard drive, the motherboard has got
firmware.
Not exactly. It's got to run the system itself. It's got something called a chipset, which is like a CPU, but it's the motherboard's CPU. So the chipset driver sort of decides how all the hardware is going to interact with each other. So when I went through all the drivers systematically while I was on the live show and just sort of checked which ones are up to date, and all of them were, until I got to Armory Crate, which is this horrendous piece of bundled software that Asus chuck in. And in there was an Intel chipset driver update. All the other ones were already greyed out, the ones that I'd done manually throughout. You know, in other words, I've gone through them systematically. Now, if I'd known, I'd just gone to Armory Crate and pressed go, and it had done all of them for me. But I've done them one by one, except this one. So I was like, okay, there's one on the list, Intel chipset driver. I doubt this will resolve the problem. So I did it, restarted, while you were all just sat around. Came back, set up for a members-only live stream, which is what we've got now with 3 people watching. And just hit record, hit stream. And instead of pegged at 99%, the integrated graphics is now at 34%. Not only that, I've now upped the resolution, because I dropped the resolution in the live stream and dropped the recording quality and dropped everything while it was all going live. Nothing worked. So eventually I'm like, okay, I've got to ditch the recording. So I did ditch the recording. And then it was like 65%, reaching 80% when the fucking intro's playing. You're like, why is it pegging the GPU at 80% when just an intro's playing at 1080p? Nuts. Sorry. So anyway, chipset update, come back. Now I'm streaming it. I haven't actually checked that it's working. Let's just shut up.
It seems to go fluid.
Are you watching?
Stalling at the beginning.
Yeah,
I was watching. As it was starting up, it was stalling at the beginning, but then now it's perfectly smooth.
No, I stopped it. So what I did was, when I saw that it was working and was working at 20% iGPU usage, I was like, okay, well, let's up it to what I've tested with over and over and over again, which is 1440p. So I upped it to 1440p. And I'm like, well, that seems to still be working, but I had to physically stop the stream to be able to change that setting. And then I just started it again before OBS cut me off. Before YouTube cut me off, sorry. So there was a gap in between. That's why. But now it's streaming at high resolution, or higher resolution, 1440p. The bitrate's 18,000, which is very, very high, but my internet's exceptionally good. It's on fibre optic. And I haven't changed the recording quality yet, but that shouldn't make much of a difference. But it's at 35% now, which is absolutely perfect. You want it to be idling when it's doing this, and then maybe go up to about 80% if I've got a game running on it. Not 99% when I've got a bloody intro that's pre-recorded running. You're like, Jesus, Wet, this is a nightmare. This computer, I know it's new tech and all, but oh God, every day I say, hey, I'm done. No, fucking not. I'll never be done. This computer's going to kill me, isn't it?
I have an idea. Don't say anything tomorrow. Just start the show.
Well, I'm going to go. Well, that's what I'm kind of want to do now. What I want to do now, that's what I was kind of interrupting for. I just ended up waffling, which is to say that I'm going to turn this members-only stream into a live stream. So it will go out to the public. Just keep it broadcast worthy. It's really all I'm saying.
Excellent. And we will.
We had trouble saving your video. Retrying in 5 seconds. Hopefully we'll be live to an audience, like a, proper audience. Not that I'm in any way demeaning my members-only audience, but yeah, this has gone public. So I'm going to check the stream, see if it's, still 34% GPU usage instead of 100%. I'll check it's working, and then if so, we'll carry on. This can be a show. I'm in a much happier mood knowing that my stuff's not about to set on fire. I did the full hour on tenterhooks, though. Are you impressed? With stuff almost on fire, things going wrong around me. I managed to keep my head together enough for a full hour show on time. No, it wasn't. It was half an hour late after cancelling the show. Right, shut up and have a look and actually look if it's going out. I wouldn't normally be this unprofessional if you are watching this live, right? I wouldn't normally be checking if live streams are actually working, but needs must.
It looks good at this end, Nathan. I'm just checking it on YouTube now. Crisp, clean. I can even go. I'm on 1080, but I've got 1440 if I want it.
You can go up to 14, but that's all I was going to check. That was the last thing I was going to check, that it is actually going out in high definition. It seems criminal that a £4,000 computer I've been gifted can't do more than 1080. It can. It seems fine. It was just a chipset update. man, if I had been a new adopter of this type of computer, if I was an early adopter 12 months ago, and I'd had to deal with this shit for 12 months rather than 2, I'd be furious. I suppose that's the price you pay for being a new technology adopter. That is perfect. Again, just like it was testing. Why would a chipset driver update that worked previously suddenly make it work again? I don't know. Just so it can fail tomorrow, I don't doubt. Anyway.
Now, if you updated it, it should work. It's a miracle that it even ran without it.
But in every test, I've recorded and broadcast live to members. I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of them to check these settings till I've got them what I think are absolutely rock solid. Then you go, okay, now they don't work the day I need them to, when I've got a scheduled live stream and it's going out and I've got a recording going and I've got an after show to record. This is now in after show time. Actually, I'd normally be finished about now, wouldn't I? It's what a crime. Anyway, tomorrow, I've been told by Neil not to announce that, I'm sure I won't have any more computer worries. And then just do the show.
There was a guy on True Frequency Radio we interviewed back there, Jimmy Jean. And he taught us this. He said, never tempt the universe. So when somebody asks you, how are you? Just say, I couldn't be any better. Then the universe can only make it better. You say, oh, I'm not bad. You can tempt the universe. So the best thing is it done? You say, no, I'm sure there'll be a lot more fiddling that's necessary. Don't tempt the universe.
What you're saying is, as I know for a fact that the last computer I tinkered with till the day it broke, you're saying, admit defeat. And
no.
What?
No,
it couldn't be any better. This computer couldn't be any better.
Don't say it's fixed. Don't say it's fixed now, because that'll tempt the universe and go, it's not. Yeah? Just say, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot more tinkering to do. And then the universe might surprise you.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to do some more tinkering with this computer.
There you go. I agree.
I hate you,
That
computer.
is so
Die in hell.
suspicious.
No, I'm really grateful. I've thanked Paul for buying it me about 5,000 times.
And next time, just make sure you update all the hardware first, and
I
don't
did.
skip one.
Oh,
No, you didn't.
skip one.
You skipped it.
Oh, I didn't see that there was a chipset driver needing to be updated. How am I supposed to know that stuff? I've updated millions of drivers since I've got this new computer. Not millions, that's a total exaggeration. A lot.
Probably like 10, but there's always more. And sometimes it doesn't even, like, I have issues where certain drives I can't install, and then I have to like manually pick it, some special version for it, right? So yeah, but updates for your actual hardware is critical. It's much more important than even software.
Oh, thank you, Arwin.
So-
I'm so glad you're here.
Not specifically to you, but to listeners.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Nathan.
Say again?
Tomorrow, and from this very moment on, say nothing about it. Just cross the bridge when you come to it. Just do your
Yeah.
show. Because like, it's all great now. There's nothing can go wrong. Like, you're only looking for something to go wrong. It's Murphy's Law.
Well, the only proper way to actually test it is to have an anti-flat earther on the show.
Because then it'll definitely go wrong. Just at the point that I need to be taking apart his point.
If it would, yes.
Right, that's definitely tempting fate. But again, as has been the case many times previously during testing, this is running perfectly, just to a much more limited audience that aren't at my scheduled time. But anyway, I'm sure there will be a bit more tinkering with this computer. You happy, Adam? Gone. Everyone's deserted.
Well, I'm
me.
glad that it fixed it, at least. Very happy for you and us.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I really don't. I really, really, really hoped that after last week that this would be the end of it.
It's Halloween weekend, so Monday, you could say Monday is still kind of part of the weekend. So just tomorrow's the real start of the week.
Yeah,
You ain't gonna need another week of therapy, are you?
I am going to need another week of therapy with this computer. It's been about 6 weeks. It's been maybe even 2 months since I got it, And between taking it into the computer guy to get the thing to actually be attached to the cooler and cool itself, to it overheating and having to control the thermal temperatures and the output and the power usage of every single component in it one by one, including the RAM, which is typically not something you'd need to worry about in terms of temperatures. You just stick it in and it works. Well, with this, it's very, very, very fussy. When I described it in a post that I made, and I was like, yeah, another post, I'm finished. And I described it as being like a race car. Now, if you buy a crate engine, right, it might say on the box up to 4,000 horsepower. Yeah? Well, that may be true, but if you just chuck that crate motor in a car and then go and dyno it, you might get 400 if you're lucky. Right? If you just chuck it in and turn the key. Yeah? Because it requires effort to make it do those sorts of things. Now, it's the same, and I knew it with high-end computers. Now, in the past, I've told you stories of joy going back to my parents' computer shop and playing the latest and greatest games. Some of them that literally had hardware in the box with the game to make it work in your computer. So hardware compatibility is something that I've been familiar with for a very, very long time, since I can remember, which amused me because I watched Angry Video Game Nerd and he was talking about Doom and he plays it on his Atari or something. And he turns over the box and he's like, hardware compatibility. And he's like, what the hell does that mean? And it made me chuckle thinking, that's the first thing I would do. You get back to the shop, my folks' shop in Birmingham, when they were selling networking into schools and computers and PCs and all the rest of it. The new game would come in, you'd take it over, and the first thing you'd look at is what the hardware specifications were, what you needed to run it, and then you'd ask whoever was in the shop, which computer's got this spec, and if it hasn't, if it's got a piece of equipment in the box, can I put it in that machine over there, please, so I can play this game? And then you'd end up taking the top of a computer, putting a piece of hardware in, putting it back together, and then seeing if you could get the damn game to run, which would be a faff. Now, I give you all of that build-up to say that there came a point in me, my brother, and my sister's life where my parents were coming to retirement age and they wanted to sell a very successful business, worth, it was turning over in millions. It was a successful business. And all of us turned it down. One by one, we all said, no, we don't want it. No, thanks. No, sell it. Get rid of it. We don't want it. So in the end, they just sold it. And they were offering it to us to just have a successful computer business, doing like I say, networking, selling to schools and all just computer things. Right, and my dad
could have been a millionaire by now.
Possibly, but what we had all experienced growing up as children was what computers were, what they involved, and how much of a headache they caused, right? And I remember late on before my folks retired, my mum I asked her, I was like, "Do you like computers?" Because I was a teenager, maybe a bit earlier, and I was into the video games, and that's all that I knew about the computers. And I was like, "Do you like them, Mum?" She's like, "I could kick them all in the air." That's what she said. I'll never forget it. And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She was like, "I don't care for any of them. No, I don't like them." Right? It's because of this sort of crap. Right? When you're selling stuff that's on the cutting edge, that means something. Now, we talk about it when we talk about the slow grind of finding stuff that's in existence already. If you come to look at celestial navigation, it's already in existence, isn't it? It's already being utilized. And lo and behold, it requires a flat earth. Now, over time, we come across things like this because of the due diligence of people like 10th Man, not because of me. And we explore them. But if you're on the outside looking in, that's a very slow process. And I give it an analogy of sharpening a blade, right? Now, that is the same with these stupid computer things, right? If you take one look at it, and there's a guy I've been watching at the moment on a channel called Frame Chasers, and he says, nothing ever changes. New hardware comes out, and it's, 5 times more speed and 10 times more better, right? But it isn't. It's the same as the old stuff, right? It's hard to explain. Stuff doesn't progress in a way that people imagine it does when you see 10x the speed and etc, etc, etc. Now, I know that instinctually, and in spite of watching loads of videos about, when you upgrade your computer, you feel the smoothness. I was like, I know this isn't true. And in truth, I had got low expectations for this new computer. In fact, I dreaded getting it, right? I remember saying to my wife, I don't want to change the computer. I want this one to live forever because it currently works. And the computer guy I had it serviced with said the same thing. He says, yeah, it's pretty snappy, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to get rid of it. I didn't want to get rid of it. I just wanted you to make it work and live forever, which is unreasonable because it's old and tatty and burnt out and I've overclocked it and it's frazzled, right? It's on its last legs. Needs sticking on eBay, which is precisely where it is. And anyway, the new introduction to a new computer is the same as the old one. There will be the same headaches in terms of tuning it. There will be the same headaches in terms of transferring your old data onto the new computer and setting up all the drivers and learning the new structure of the new system. All of that headache to get essentially the exact same thing that you had before. Because that's what I will have. Now, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that there's more things that it can do, and it is absolutely silent under circumstances where it wasn't silent in the old computer. But man, it's a lot of work to get there. And today is just your typical example of that, where you go, the light at the end of the tunnel. I've had it stabilized. I've had the last couple of shows running. I've done test streams. I've had them recording and streaming at the same time. They've been done in high definition. I've been in and out of the live stream on my iPad, checking the quality. Been showing it to my wife. It's all fantastic. You know what? I'm going to not touch a thing. Just let it run all weekend. I'll let my wife fuck with it. I'll let my kids play with it. They can do what they like. I'll just leave it. And hopefully it'll break during the weekend so I can address it. And no, all stable. You get to the show, get to 2 o'clock, everything's set up smoothly. The computer, the hardware's all working perfectly. And OBS shits the bed. Why? Well, because the GPU in the processing chip is pegged at 100%. Why? Well, who knows? It wasn't like that in the last 20 tests you did. So you're like, what am I going to do? I'm streaming live now. It's like that aeroplane analogy, right? The people who do air crash investigations, they always say there's a pilot mentality that is, once you're in the air, everything will be okay. And it's kind of like that with live streaming. Once I can get live, everything will be okay. I can sort all the things that kind of don't work until the live stream itself isn't working. In other words, there isn't, like now, a nice steady stream where people can hear what we're saying and discussing. When that isn't the case, that's the equivalent of going off the end of the runway without taking off, right? That's smashing into residential buildings with the aeroplane while you're pushing the throttles even more to get it to go faster to lift off. Right, that's what that is. That's powering towards death. So that was the feeling that I had earlier. You know, you're like, oh my God, the show's not going to continue like this. It can't continue like this.
You want my take on it?
Go on.
No. Since Lucifer's the prince of the power of the air, and that's where all this is going through, air, right? We're on the right track, and he's trying to shut us down.
What the hell does that have anything to do with the intervention that Nathan needs?
Intervention? What do you mean intervention? You're saying I'm going a bit loopy?
You need intervention, man. Bad.
I don't. I just need...
He wants the show to run smooth.
Just need stable RAM at 5200. I need an octa-core speed of about 4.8 gigahertz and a single to dual core speed of about 5.2. I need the hard drives to shut the hell up when I'm doing the show. I need the fans to stay off as much as humanly possible. And I need it to just stream in slightly higher quality than I had from the old PC, i.e. 1440p instead of 1080p. That's all I'm asking. It's not much. Please, Jesus. I'll believe in you more.
Believe in you more.
More
That's
than
baller,
almost not at all, I'll be honest.
Oh, you just cooked your goose now.
That's not a good way of talking about.
Yeah, well, he still needs the intervention. I like the enthusiasm, but you need intervention, son.
Nah, I'm all right. I've had plenty of rest over the weekend. If I'd have done Ballbusters, this would have tipped me over the edge. I'm not even joking. But I'm smiling about it because with a clear head, having had rest over the weekend, I can, within an hour, a couple of hours, get to the bottom of the problem and fix it. Driver update, new software, change of generation, 13th gens come out. They want the new chips to work on the old boards. That's why there's a chipset update. That's the only reason this has gone wrong. But you do kind of go, oh, what's the next bloody driver update that will make this show shit the bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what you're trying to tell us is all these problems boiled down to a chipset update.
No, because prior to that update, I had the show streaming and recording beautifully to members every single time I tested it. It worked. The problem I had last week wasn't software. It was hardware, things overheating, things crashing because they're overheating, namely the RAM. That's all been resolved. I've got steady voltages. The hardware's now functioning well. The hardware is nice. But not if there's a software confliction that's making the GPU, which is technically hardware, pegged to 100%, which it isn't now. It's 35% streaming at high resolution. So I'm reasonably confident that tomorrow, right? Why wouldn't I be? It'll be perfect, right? Will it, heck?
Oh boy, I'm tired just listening to you.
Well, there we go. I've kept us live so we could talk about interesting flat Earth stuff. Now I'm in a bit of a better mood with the stream actually functioning as it should and a very low number of audience members. And Neil just left. That says it all.
What says it all? I didn't get that last part because Brian.
Neil left. It's okay. Go ahead, Brian.
No. I leave you say it first, Nate. Whatever you were saying, I couldn't.
I think I was saying that says it all. Neil left. You were saying, it's making me tired just listening to you. And then Neil dropped. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, what I was going to say is during Ruhif's debate with John, Ruhif mathematically changed the physical size of his globe. That's what he did to try and make celestial navigation work on a globe. He had to change the physical size of it to try and flatten it out. Now, not that they do that in celestial navigation, but Ruhif did it. So Adam is stating that 7/6R is not that. Yes, that's exactly what Ruhif did. And I disagree with Adam, that Adam is stating that 7/6R involves possibly ray tracing and the bending of rays of light and etc. from a calculation point of view. But I would state that no, there is no such thing as light refraction within the heliocentric model, that 7/6R and anything other than that, anything greater than 7/6R, is all based around a mathematical physical change in the size of the globe. So there's no way that an observer and what the observer is viewing, there's no way with those two, the distance between the observer and what they're viewing, there's no way that could stay constant under a 7/6R scenario or anything greater than 7/6R. There's no way that location has to move further away from the observer. It would be a geometric impossibility for that not to happen from that point of view.
When you're using 7/6R, or when it was used in the past, Brian, we would kind of go along with their notion that it's bending the light at the rate that's dictated by the curvature that they explained, with little strips of light that are ever having the Snell's law effect applied, creating a gradual curve at the rate of 7/6R. Now, 2022, we're pointing out that where's anything to do with light in 7/6R? What is 7/6R? Well, it's 7/6 of the radius. So what it is a derivation of the radius then. So it's changing the radius. That's all it is. There's nothing to do with refraction in there. Now, again, until now we'd been pointing that out. But now we've taken it one step further in saying, what's it actually do then? Well, it just changes the size of the ball that they're presupposing. That's all it does.
Personally, I never even messed with 7/6R. I always went to the refraction part. I kind of knew that it didn't have anything to do with it. It's just by definition, 7/6R in borders, right? So what is 7/6R? Well, they're changing the radius. Isn't it pretty self-explanatory? What's Adam's argument?
What was the last show number? Was it 1758?
think so, Nathan. Yes.
Thank you. Making a
Well,
thumbnail.
thanks. That had a lot to do with my query.
Well, you know, I'm on top of it. My hardware works. I can be making thumbnails, multitasking, listening.
Let's move on. It works now. Let's talk about the Earth.
Yeah,
thing.
stop talking about it. Move on. You're always
Shut up. It's his show. He can do what he wants.
No, he
That
can't.
thumbnail. What's the problem? Go ahead, whoever
Well,
it was that I've
weekend
now forgotten about
rumpus
because QE's distracted me.
So let's get. Well, what's Adam's argument?
Adam's argument?
Well,
he wasn't even talking, was he?
Someone. He
Well,
was earlier.
Brian, hold on a second. Brian said that Adam had a disagreement with the 7/6R when isn't it self-evident?
It's not
Adam
my
disagrees.
understanding of how they calculate it.
How they calculate what? It's the 7/6R is not a calculation.
No,
It's a ratio.
It's a ratio. So, Brian, could you? Well, it doesn't matter. I don't need the diagram. If you follow logic, you know, light's traveling in a straight line. So, if you was to take it to that ball, then you would draw a tangent from the point you're viewing from, and that would just be a straight line. From the tangent point, it'd go way over the observer's head. If you were to take the assumption that the light travels the exact rate of the curvature, that's 6/6R, the rate at which it's bending. What they're saying is that it's not perfect. It doesn't match the curvature, the rate of curvature of the light rays. What it does do, though, is curve at a rate of a slightly larger radius. So you can take that path and then you put that 7/6 path onto your start point, and that's where you get your obstruction from. That's how I've always understood the maths, that they calculate that. That's not right. Yeah, the way in which they work out the obstruction then.
Yeah, but you're going too far into it. We're just talking about 7/6. That's why I said I put borders around it. See, I put brick walls around it. 7/6 doesn't have anything to do. You started talking about light. Well, light's not curving anyway. So I don't even know why. You could have brought in Fruit Loop.
That's irrelevant whether light is doing that or not. I'm on about what they're claiming and how they manipulate the numbers to pad it out so it looks flatter.
Well, Adam,
I'm not saying obviously I'm not saying in reality light's bending at that rate. I'm saying this is what they do in terms of how they apply it. What they don't
how they apply what?
What they don't do is just put it onto a bigger ball.
I'm lost.
So
that is what
7/6 application isn't to the surface, as Brian's saying. In my understanding, it was never to the surface. The 7/6 application is to do with the rate of curvature of the light rays and how that will then interact with the still maintained 6/6R ball and its geometry.
Maybe this is above my head. I don't think so. I'm lost as to how light enters this.
That's how that's always been explained to me by them, and by Rue here. So I don't.
Oh, there's your problem.
No, it's not my problem. Other than I'm trying to figure out. I know they're wrong. I'm not saying they're wrong. I can easily say that. I'm trying to figure out why Brian's saying that, because that's not been my understanding of their claim previously in terms of when they show the maths and explain it.
Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm not getting it. Are you getting? Hold on a second. Are you understanding my position?
No, I don't know what you're.
Okay, my position is that's why here, just drop everything you thought about before. It's just 7/6R. It's got big brick walls around it. There's nothing else coming in. No Fruit Loops, no spitballs, no pen caps, nothing. 7/6R is just the ratio of the Earth. I don't know about the surface. It's from the center. It's a radius ratio, correct?
No, it's a rate of curve, right, of the light, supposed light. It's the
Where
rate,
the fuck is light coming in?
the light is coming in because the rate at which it's curving
Light
is
doesn't
based.
curve.
I know it doesn't, but the rate that they're claiming that the rate at which the light is curving is based on an R value of 7/6 of the R value of the Earth. That's the rate at which the light is actually curving. It's not curving to match the surface. It's curving slightly less than the surface to give an approximate R value of 7/6 R, which
Define
means
rate.
it doesn't match, but it does straighten out the image for them, meaning there's less obstruction to excuse.
That's crazy. Define rate.
No, it's crazy.
Define rate.
So the way in which the rate is the rate of curve is as Brian showed. Okay, so as he went and took it out and did the bigger R value, if you take that R value and use that R value, not on a bigger radius, and then bring that arc that you create back down to the viewer, that's what you see. That's what they do. They bring that down, and that's then the obstruction.
I don't care about that. I asked you to define rate. You're 7/6 is not a
not a rate. Okay. Sorry. Well, it's changing. It's bending at that rate. So the way in which
you calculate rate, that's not a fucking rate.
Okay, excuse the grammar. The way in which you calculate the arc is to take another circle like what Brian did, and that with the R value of 7/6, you take that arc and then you apply that to the geometry to calculate the new obstruction caused by the still unchanged structure. And what Brian's saying is no, what they're doing is putting it on to a larger ball of 7/6R and then reducing the actual number of angles that you traverse through to keep the distance the same, the bigger R. And that's what
that explains it. I totally understand it now.
Oh, I do. I'm just saying that's the difference between the two and what Brian's brought to the table. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's not been my understanding of what they've claimed in the past. So
Well, I
I'd
have
like
a question
to see
about
both sets of workings. I'd like to see Brian's calculations of how he gets it to match their things, and then we can have a good look at it and see what they're doing. Because there's obviously
you're missing the point, Adam. Nothing is going to match their thing because their thing is made up. It doesn't exist. What they're doing is they're changing the size of the surface of their globe to flatten it out for the observer, but they're not changing the distance between the observer and the location. So every time they show you an observation, Black Swan is a great example. Every time they show you the Black Swan, they say, oh, it's just really, really big refraction, right? Whatever, infinite/6 refraction, right? Infinite/6, sorry, or, I shouldn't have used the word refraction. Infinite/6 or, and that's why the horizon is so far away from the observer. But they didn't, if that is the case and the horizon is back there, then the oil rigs must be past the horizon. They have to be. It's a geometric fact. What they're doing is they're working purely on the horizon moving, and they're trying to keep the objects they're looking at or the location they're looking at the same distance from the observer. There is no light refraction. There's no Snell's law. There's none of that going on. They're double dipping and trying to hijack actual refraction and mix it in with just basically making a bigger ball. Because the proof of this is when Ruhif was debating John, he made his globe physically bigger to flatten it out for his presentation on celestial navigation.
Right, so Ruth is a member, isn't he? I think he's joined as a member. So maybe you'll be able to answer this first. How do they calculate this? How do they take into account, and what's the maths they do to take into account their supposed terrestrial refraction? So I'm not disputing it's all nonsense, like with you. I'm asking how they derive the numbers. And you're saying now the way they do it is like that. And I'm open to that. I'd like to see exampled. But if Rufy's listening, which I'm sure he is, drop us a line, dude, so you can just tell us how you guys calculate it, because I'm kind of defending your position here. I'm back to being a Gnostic defender.
I don't know what you are.
I'm not defending their position, Brian. I'm just trying to make sure my understanding of what they were claiming previously was correct. That's all.
What they were claiming, we know you're not on board with them. What they did, what Rufy did, was just mindlessly parrot what people have told him. What do you mean how they calculate? How they calculate what?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go into Metabunk Earth Curve Calculator, you'll see the addition that they put in is refracted horizon.
Okay, have them define refraction. Yeah, who cares about the updates? I haven't been there in 4 years. Who cares about the updates? Have them define refraction.
Yeah, well, that's if I was arguing with them, that's all I'd have to do. I'm not trying to argue with them. I'm trying to understand within their bullshittery what that actually means, what understand the nuance of their claim, like where they're pulling their numbers from. Yeah, I know that the numbers are incorrect. I know what refraction is, and I know they're not using it in its correct term. The term refracted is their magical bending, as described.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's all I'm saying. It's just that's not how I've understood it.
It's not how they understand it either, because Rufy or any other knuckle dragger, all they're doing is mindlessly parroting. Where'd they get it from?
Yeah, and what Brian showed today, I've not seen before. You see, so I've got to understand what he's saying and see. I understand the principle of what he's saying. I want to see how that's calculated after the fact to match up with these figures.
Hold on a second. How what's calculated and matching up to what figures?
Right. So what the methodology that Brian was describing this afternoon, how, if we were to follow that methodology, does it match up to those? I know it's geeky, but that's kind of what I do.
I know. You're not being
I know you're going, ugh, disgusting. Stop it. No need for it. So I've even got a sheep. Now.
Yeah, but what Kiwi is asking you, what matches up to what figures? What is it that's supposed to match up to what? Right. I mean, these things are things that they're making up. That's my point.
No, but
they're not sticking to what 7 over 6 are.
You've just said they're making it up like this.
No, I pointed out exactly what they're doing.
Right, so they're making it up like this. So if you're saying that's exactly what they're doing, I want to see the maths of that is all I'm saying. Not just, oh, that's plausible. Let's match the numbers up. Is that what they're doing in this?
Yes.
Right, so if you can show...
It's Metabunk. You just proved it to yourself a second ago when you said the refracted horizon on Metabunk.
I won't prove it until I see the formulas of how this is working. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not querying you. I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying, show me the maths of how it's calculated. Because if this is part of it, that's interesting. It's not how I viewed it, but I need to see that, because what you've done there, taking it out, will do that, won't it? Is that the thing that matches to give this new refracted horizon? I want to explore all that. So if we can get some tables from what you've done, I think that's cool. But I can't confirm it because I've not checked it. And I always check stuff.
Okay, let me ask you this. Does Metabunk refer to the horizon, or does Metabunk refer to the locations or objects you're looking at?
Both.
Well, when I go to Metabunk, they'll give me a geometric or a refracted horizon. That's what they'll give me, right? So if the horizon is changing its position, then anything in relation to it must change its distance from the observer. If the horizon is changing its position in relation to the observer, that means the reason it's doing that is because they're mathematically increasing the physical size of the sphere.
That's
so
your claim.
objects.
And that's what I'm
Hang on,
asking you to
one
prove.
second. One second.
Yeah, but you're
One
not.
second. Let me finish.
No, just show me
So-
the numbers of how you calculate to make that claim. I understand the claim, Brian. I've just gone through it, and I'm just trying to match it up. I'm just saying, can you send me the stuff that demonstrates that claim so that we can match these numbers up? Because that's cool. Because what Metabunk doesn't do, yeah, is show you his workings and the programming within it. You put the input in, and you just get these figures: the refracted rise and refracted drop. So if that's how they're doing it, we should be able to match those up, and that's really useful. Because I know, I said, when I did the actual curvature drop stuff, not the refracted stuff, I'm within the 3 decimal points of them in terms of accuracy in the formula that I derived, just for the standard drop stuff. But then they've built this in. So if this is how they're then readjusting stuff, this is cool because we figure it out.
Yeah, but you're missing something.
You're asking
me, right? You're asking me for the calculation when I'm giving it to you. It's 7/6 or terrestrial refraction.
That's not a formula, Brian.
It's a ratio, Adam.
We just declared it. It's not a ratio. I just have to apologise for the term ratio.
Okay, can I just interrupt for 1 second? Sorry to interrupt, Brian. Okay, so because of the technical issues earlier, one of the things I did in the live show that went out first that ended up getting cancelled was updating the Gilded link because it was still on the old Discord link. Now, I've made that same mistake at the beginning of this stream, just trying to cobble it together to get it working, and it is. And because I'm on top of it, I've managed to actually get the Gilded stream link into this video. So I'm going to do a quick announcement in that regard because this video started abruptly and then went live when it was members only and things like that. If you're watching this live, and there are a few people watching, although this isn't a scheduled normal time, there is now the Gilded link. So if you want to refresh the stream that you're watching and then go to the bottom of the info box, you'll find that there's an actual link that does take you to the Gilded server so you can actually join and express your views on the nature of Earth or challenge anything that's being said currently by any of the panel members. So there's a Gilded link. It's updated. You just have to refresh because it wasn't there when you first joined the stream. It is now. So if you did want to join in this conversation, the Gilded link is open, and there are people in there. There's Dank in there, and there's me in there at the moment, not many others, because, as I say, this isn't a normally scheduled time. But feel free to join if you did want to challenge anything that's being discussed or express your views on the nature of Earth. Thank you, Brian and Adam, for your indulgence.
Nice to see you making progress.
Shut up, Neil. Adam,
Yeah, shut up, Neil. Things are getting back to normal.
No one attacked Adam over a ratio. You weren't attacked with that. We were just telling you it was a ratio.
I was correct.
I tried to get, hold on. I had a problem with when you said rate. Follow?
Well, the rate is what I was meaning by that, the rate at which it's curving in relation to the distance it's traveling. That's yeah.
Well, 7/6 is not a rate.
If you apply it to the circle, then you can describe the rate at which the amount of drop will occur over distance.
All right, give me the amount of. See, you're adding stuff to it. What I'm saying,
I know, but I didn't know he was going to be pedantic on the definition there, so I needed clarity. So yeah, in the fullness, I didn't fully explain what I was meaning.
All right, fair enough. Boy, this is fucking tedious.
Well, it is because I like to say I want to have a little look at it. I'm not making any claims either way. I'm not saying right or wrong. I was intrigued with what Brian was saying, and like I said, it lends to if that's how they're working it out. Because Brian's right. He talks about everything else having to relatively move. He would, but at a different rate. That's the other. This is the point. Yeah. If something's at 130 miles and something 150, they don't both move by a proportionate amount because it's curving on a circle, which is proportionate to its R value. Did you see?
Yeah, but
you forgot the other half of that rate, by the way.
But this is why their claim is so extraordinary anyway. When they just strap
claim is non sequitur.
for it to render as a flat image, is an impossibility, because everything would have to be refracting at different terrestrial refraction rates, if that was a thing that existed, to render the image flat. And I think that's Brian's other point in terms of the background stuff.
You keep on saying right.
I'm
That's
going to
not
keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. What word do you want? What word do you want? Come on, what do you want?
Something other than rate, because 7/6 is not a fucking rate.
Amount. Amount.
Let me ask you this, Adam. Right? Is 7/6R? It can be either one of two things. It can't be two things at once. It can either be light bending through a density of a medium at a rate from your eye to a location that should be within their model behind the curve, allowing you to see it in the horizontal. Or it's 7/6, or it's a mathematical physical change in the size of their sphere Earth, straightening out the surface. It's either applying to light and temperature and mediums, or it's applying to the actual globe Earth itself. It can't apply to two at once.
You said rate, Brian.
Did I mention rate with 7/6R?
You did just say amount. Just say amount,
wait,
Brian.
I said wait. I said wait. I didn't. I said wait when it came to light going through a medium.
Right. Okay. Nobody is to stone anybody, even if they do say rate.
I got a question about this 7/6.
They don't say rate.
Hold on, Arwin. Go ahead, John.
Is it happening under surface level? Is both R and 7/6R below surface level?
I don't know if 7/6R is meant to see. 7/6R is supposed to be showing you reality. That's the whole point of it. That's why they go to more than 7/6R. They bring it to infinite over 6R when they need to, with situations like the Black Swan.
Yeah, but there are no flat spots on a sphere, right?
Yes.
So all their little diagrams happen below surface level.
That's not how they claim it. That's the claim of 7/6R and greater than 7/6R is claimed to be what we're looking at.
But in the math, they have to put surface level in as a straight line.
Well, in the math, it's still. Well, that's my point. In the math, it still stays as a sphere.
No, you
but they just make it bigger.
You can't use that interjection refracted on at this point, because we're too far down the rabbit hole of permissions with regards to curvature and light and stuff to use that. I think that's unfair. Because we can't.
I just wander into a conversation like I ain't got nothing what's going on. Yeah.
No, do you know? I know what you're saying. You can use that to just abruptly stop the conversation. It wins the argument. But we're not arguing really. We're trying to figure out what their claim is, the nature of the calculation that they use to support why they're not seeing the obstruction that is their ball. And what Brian's saying is,
did you say that we're trying to figure out why they're not seeing the obstruction that they claim?
Yeah.
John,
that's the point of it, isn't it? Because they should have a big hump in the way, shouldn't they? But they're not. And so this is all apologetics as to why that hump's not as big as it should be.
I just want some more correction. It's not that should is a perfectly acceptable word, but a sphere Earth would offer a geometric limitation, but that is the basis of their claim in the first instance, isn't it? It's not like we're saying, oh well, they should have a hill in the way. It's like, what, the hill in the way that the math says will be in the way? Why are we having to make apologetics for their actual claim that there's a hill in the way? That's Earth curve. It just isn't. But then when we point out that it isn't, they give us this refraction excuse, get into 7/6R, destroy their own geometry, and then we're into having to say, well, you should have a hill in the way. It's like, yeah, it's there in the maths. It's marked with an X, labelled horizon. It's called Earth curve. It just isn't in the way. Black Swan.
But in all fairness, the flat Earth is getting in the way of what they would claim as obstruction.
Flat Earth is an obstruction to what they're claiming.
Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah, which is why they have to make their globe physically bigger from a mathematical point of view, to try and claim that it's straightening out for you. And that then what they do is they switch that, they do a hijack of refraction and try and claim that this is due to light refraction, when what it is that they have to claim that the physical Earth is changing in physical size in front of your eyes. That's what they have to claim. That's my point.
Well,
Which would put the...
We already know. We already know your position, Brian. You don't have to repeat it. What Adam's saying... No, you don't. What Adam's saying is he's trying to figure out, and I would like to find out this also, where did 7/6 come from? Is that what you're trying to find out, Adam? Yes?
Yeah, how are they using it? I don't think I'd be...
No. Not how they're using it. Where did it come from in the first place? Not as a genetic fallacy. How did they calculate a 7/6R? Did they just dream it up?
You'd need half of that.
Yeah, you would.
Doesn't it have to match the stars?
This is the kind of live show I wanted to have at the scheduled time. Alas, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live in 1440p high definition, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next high-fidelity Flat Earth debate.
What a lovely day!